You are listening to the Who HQ podcast. Hello and welcome to the Who HQ, the ultimate podcast for any fellow Whovian. I am your host, Josh True, and today I will be doing my review of the War Games in colour. So today we're going to be diving into it, and I'm going to give you my opinions on what I liked about the episode, what I didn't like about the episode, stuff like that. Because last night on, I think it was BBC 4, they had a special colorized version of the War Games, which is Patrick Troughton, the Second Doctor's final story in his era of Doctor Who. One of the actual greatest episodes of all time, and they colorized it for our entertainment. So yeah, I'm gonna do my review and talk about things I liked, things I didn't like, and things, and then I'm gonna go and then I'm gonna do my overall rating for the episode at the end. So first off, my first point really about the episode was the fact that all the colours were absolutely beautiful. Like the way they colorized it, it made it look more like a 1970s episode as opposed to a 1960s episode, which I loved. In my opinion, it was colorized better than the Daleks in Colour, which was last year's colorized episode. I prefer this one in terms of colorization because I feel like in the Daleks in Colour, everything was a bit too oversaturated. However, this time, they didn't hold back. They just did everything to perfection. The colours are amazing. You can really, see that they cared with this one. Like the blue on the blue on Patrick Troughton's shirt, for example. It's so vibrant and it's so blue. And back in the 60s, they wouldn't have had that. And honestly, as I said, it just made it feel like it was a 1970s episode more. So that's what I really liked about the colours. I love the colours. Whoever actually colorized it, hats off to you. So next thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that they condensed a 10-part story into a 90-minute movie, essentially. Now, I loved this part because for me, I've never actually seen the War Games through episode 1 to 10. Obviously, I've seen the Regeneration. We'll get onto that later. But I've never sat down and watched one part to 10, as they say, cover to cover. But so for me as a modern Who fan, it worked a lot better. For me, in terms of pacing and everything, it was amazing. The fact it was 10 parts as well, and the fact that they condensed it down so well to 90 minutes was absolutely great. I loved the there's the people have issues with the pacing of the original, but this one, the pacing is, in my opinion anyway, the pacing is great. It is amazing. They obviously they don't skip a beat here. It gets straight into the episode. That's what I loved. So that is another opinion of mine, is that the way they condensed it to 90 minutes is just amazing. So yeah. My next kind of thing I wanted to say was the episode that they aired last night. It felt very New Who-esque. And what I mean by that is like, so last night they had like the soundtrack was modern. I'm gonna get onto the canon changes that they made as well, because they did change a bit of the canon, which I know some of the Who fans aren't a massive fan of, but I'm gonna get onto that anyway. But yeah, it reminded me of New Who. In my opinion, I didn't like that element. I thought that if it's a classic episode, they should leave it classic and not bring like the modern music in. They had too many like new shots in there, which wasn't. I mean, it didn't take away from the episode. It just made it like it made it more New Who-esque, and the other thing was the title sequence came like a minute or two into the episode, when they're on the war battlefield thing, which I didn't like. I feel like they should have left that one to be more classic. Yeah. Now I'm going to talk about the changes that they made. I'm going to start with the Warlord and how they kind of see, the thing about making new stuff canon is that when a creator or a creative has said before that it's not canon, that this person is who they say they are, then changing it just makes it a little bit like not worth it, if you get what I mean. And in my opinion, them changing the Warlord and basically canonizing that he is the Master by playing the Sound of Drums song. Oh no, not the Sound of Drums. I forget the song, but that song, the Master song, 6 times in the show, to me anyway, just felt like they were throwing away like something more, because like the Warlord, yes, he's a Time Lord, but they don't, in my opinion, they don't need to make every Time Lord the Master. It was ridiculous. In my opinion, the Warlord is the Warlord. That is his own person. The way they also did like the subtle regeneration sound effects as well was just not like, to me it just felt like they were trying to create something out of nothing. Like, because the Warlord is the Warlord, in my opinion, and the way they changed the canon was just a bit like, I don't understand it. I wish they didn't change the canon. And that was one of the things that really kind of brought the episode down for me. But again, I did love the episode, so I can't really fault it. If he wasn't the Master and he was just the Warlord, I think the fans and I think people would appreciate that more. Definitely. I'm going to talk about the extra stuff that they added, like the models of the TARDIS in space, and the stuff like the the extra shots they had, the shots of Gallifrey that they added. Now, the shots of Gallifrey I thought were necessary. I liked, the shots of Gallifrey. I thought they added an extra kind of thing, extra layer to it. The shots of the station that kept showing up, I thought like one or two were fine. Like however many were in there, I think there was like 10 or something in total, were completely unnecessary. I wanted them to kind of like not, because they kept showing the outside of the base and zooming into it. I thought it was unnecessary that they did that. I thought that they should have instead had, as I said, one or two shots and then left it. I'm gonna compare the War Games in colour to Star Wars, because as you know, the Star Wars special editions exist, and that's however many versions of Star Wars there are now. Like there's so many so many versions of 4, 5, and 6 that have been re-edited, re-spliced, remade into different things. For me, this new kind of thing that they did with the episode, it felt to me very, very Star Wars special edition kind of vibe. I liked it personally. I liked some of the changes. I thought some of the changes were great. My favourite change of the whole thing was the fact that at the end of the episode, when before Patrick Troughton regenerates, they show him choosing, or quote unquote, choosing his regenerations, and they actually showed the other Doctors on the screen. I loved this element. I thought this element was great. I am a sucker for making like bringing nostalgia things into it. Seeing Capaldi, I think, seeing David Tennant, seeing Jodie Whittaker, and seeing Matt Smith on the screen, I thought that was a great touch. I almost love that element. That is my favourite element in the thing they showed last night. And see, I kind of guessed that they would do that, but I didn't know how they would do that. So, I didn't know if they would do that, but they did it, and I really liked that element. But to me anyway, it seemed like, because they never had any of the older Doctors, they only had the new Doctors, and that was, to me anyway, what kind of really downgraded it for me, because like they when it was like, oh, that won't do at all, that could have been one of the other Doctors. In my opinion, the too young one should have been Matt Smith, and the that won't do at all one should have been like, I don't know, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Sylvester McCoy. Any of the older Doctors would have been perfect for that. But no, they just made it Matt Smith, and that for me was very, like, they're trying to erase old Who, but you know, it just felt like they were trying to make it too much New Who in there. And, you know, what can you do when it's like you're trying to, you know, because obviously New Who is popular, so like they're gonna try and push New Who. And the other thing I didn't like was the fact that they used promotional shots for the Doctors on screen, which, don't get me wrong, is a good idea that you did it, but the way you did it was a bit like unnecessary. And then my final thing to talk about really is the regeneration overall. Now, having seen the actual regeneration on YouTube, because I know that a YouTuber collaborated with the BBC to actually make this episode anyway. For me, having seen it, but knowing they were changing it felt cool. Felt good. I thought they were going to change it dramatically. They didn't change it that much, but to be fair, they changed only a little bit, and they shouldn't have changed a lot, but they changed enough. And actually, I'll give my full credit. The regeneration itself was great. Obviously, it was just the glow effect that we all know and love. Should it have been the glow effect? No. I think they should have done it so it was just like a morph and like a flash of light or something. The same regeneration is so not boring, but it's just very, like unnecessary. And to me, it was just like, yes, they've hired this person to do this, but if you're gonna make a regeneration, at least make it look like it was a classic Who regeneration, as opposed to modern Who regeneration. And that might just be me. That might just be my opinion, that the new Who stuff was just unnecessary. But that's my opinion. I solely think that they shouldn't meddle with Classic Who, and they should leave Classic Who to be Classic Who. The new stuff they can keep, but if you're going to change a lot of elements, make sure they're done correctly. But nonetheless, the regeneration was brilliant. The fact they kind of showed Jon Pertwee at the end as well was just great. The fact that in the credits they had introducing Jon Pertwee as the Doctor was great. Great elements there. I loved a lot of the those elements. I'm kind of going back on myself a little bit here, because as much as I liked the changes, I didn't like half of them. So it's very hard to kind of talk about story and stuff. The story as well. But the story, when there's so many changes, it's hard to talk about because of all the changes. So that to me is what stands out here. But anyway, nonetheless, regeneration was great. The other regeneration of the Doctors appearing on the screen at the end was great. The extra shots of the base and whatever, unnecessary, but the shots of Gallifrey I thought were necessary and good. The Warlord being the Master, didn't like. It's very similar to the Star Wars special editions, and the colours are great. So yeah, that is my review of the War Games in Colour. My overall rating for the War Games in Colour is a 7.5 out of 10. Because the story in itself is amazing. Don't take away from that. The story is great. I love the story. They just shouldn't have changed the Master bit, and that's it. That is it. The story is great. It's the greatest story when you're watching Classic Who, and yeah, it's a great thing. Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's gonna wrap up this episode of the Who HQ. Alright, guys, thank you so much for joining me again today on the Who HQ. And and thank you to all the listeners in the universe. Tune in next time for more Whovian fun and games, and actually, before the end of the year, I am releasing my Joy to the World review, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining. Again, tune in next time for more Whovian fun and games. Don't forget to like and exterminate that subscribe button. Share this podcast with your fellow Whovians. Follow us on Instagram at the WhoHQ for more updates and bonus content. And as always, stay fantastic, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. You have been listening to the Who HQ podcast.